All right, guys, let's turn to hydrogen fuel cells on 368. 368. All right, so this is actually a giant chart that compares the different renewable energy sources, benefits, advantages, disadvantages, emissions that may result from them, and their energy output, meaning how efficient they are in terms of like what you have to put in as to what you get out of it. You can see the hydrogen fuel cell there. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think hydrogen fuel cells are stupid, and I don't know why they put these in the notes in the course of study, other than to learn a lesson from the past. I don't ever think hydrogen fuel cells will be a reliable energy source, but they didn't ask me, so who knows? Maybe they'll turn things around. But I'm going to give you a little background. We'll watch a short video on who killed the electric car today, which relates directly to this topic, because they pretended like they were going to kill the electric car with fuel cells, but it's really just a conspiracy for big oil to get rid of electric cars, because people that drive electric cars don't use gasoline and oil. Well, at least that's my hypothesis. So, as with all things in life, Emma, they all go back to money. Thank you, Seth. You know what I'm talking about. So, page 3, let's turn to 365. If we have time, we'll go back and cover a little bit of the geothermal y'all missed yesterday. If not, I posted that lecture online, and you're responsible for getting that. Any day that you are not in class, you are responsible for doing what's on Schoology. I don't care if it's a snow day, if it's a sick day, if it's an AB day, you are responsible for your work. I need you guys to be big boys and girls. You're almost in college. We have a few short months left to, maybe 5 months left to cover the things we need to cover, really about 4. And then you got an AP exam. I think most all of you are very capable of passing the AP exam, but you guys have to be a little bit more diligent in your work and study and paying attention, because some of you are total slackers and it shows. So I'm not going to micromanage you. I'm going to give you the information and tools you need to be successful, and you guys are going to have to do a little bit better job in your productivity. You know who you are. I'd also say this. Make sure that you know I'm here for you. I'm here to serve you and help you be successful. And if you are having trouble or have questions, you need to come see and talk to me, and let's figure out how we can do a better job of getting you where you need to be. I'm also here if you need a reference, although I wouldn't ask me for a reference if you've been a total slacker, because it can't be that good, to be honest with you. So anyway, I wanted you guys to know, I care about you. You're special. You is kind. How does the rest go?
You is kind, you is smart, you is important.
Yes, all of those things. Kind, important, and smart. Even you, yes. Okay, so, and you is held responsible too. Number 47, hydrogen fuel cells are an alternative energy to gas. So gasoline, and also back in the day, it was an alternative to electric vehicles, which we're going to see a little bit about in the video. But primarily, this is supposed to be an alternative to gas vehicles. Hydrogen, they use hydrogen as a fuel, combining hydrogen and oxygen in the air to form water. So when you take hydrogen and react it with oxygen, what does it give off? Water. Good, I just said it. Thank you. And that water is your only emission from a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. That sounds pretty clean, right, Krista? Only sputtering out water out the backside. It takes hydrogen, it takes oxygen, and makes water, and that's all it releases. That sounds wonderful. Now, here's a better question. How do you make hydrogen to go in the vehicle? It's hydrogen that goes in these fuel cells, which is basically where it's like it's gas tank or hydrogen tank here. Turn over to 366. Maybe this will make a little bit more sense. And we get out of here, what time? 2:35?
Probably.
I think that's the time.
I have a picture of it somewhere.
We'll figure it out when we get there. All right. We don't have really a lot to cover here, but I do want to watch the video I've got for y'all. Actually, a couple videos. All right, 366. So in a hydrogen fuel, well, let me go ahead and give you this background. In the mid 90s, some of the major car companies came out with some electric vehicles. Really, the first time there was kind of a big push to make electric vehicles, especially like this was in Southern California, where there's a lot of sun and there's a lot of demand for energy efficient vehicles. There's a lot of people that drive, so there's a lot of smog. And because of that, there was a lot of people who wanted electric vehicles because they don't produce any emissions that are going out. Now, something happened, and the electric vehicles were thrown by the wayside. Most of them were crushed and ground up and recycled, even though people wanted to buy them and take them home with them, people that had been using them and that liked them. And then another technology came out right after that, the hydrogen fuel cell. The hydrogen fuel cell was always very expensive. These cars cost like $1 million. They never got the price down. Talks about it on number 51. The technology was expensive, and energy is still needed to make the hydrogen. So, how do you make hydrogen?
How do you make hydrogen?
How do you get hydrogen? It's pretty simple.
So, H2O, take the H out.
Very good. So you take water, you run electricity through it, which is called hydrolysis, and you split the water into hydrogen and oxygen. And then you harvest the hydrogen, and then you can put it in a fuel cell. So what are you essentially using to power your hydrogen fuel cell vehicle? Electricity. The water's there, but that's not the power. You can't just do it with water. You've got to have electricity to split the water. Does that make sense? So to use it as a replacement for electric vehicles, which already used batteries to power them and move around, I mean, it seems a little silly, especially when the cost of these were really high and it wasn't reasonable for anybody to buy them. They never really came on the market because of that. There was no infrastructure in place, at least with electric vehicles. How can you power them? Charge them up at home, plug them in, charge them up, and you go where you need to go to work for the day or whatever.
So you just add an extra step.
That's what it sounds like, right? On top of all that, what does hydrogen do? Let's say you get in a wreck.
Blows up.
It goes boom. I don't know, the sneaky Germans figured this out back in the early 1900s. They put hydrogen inside a balloon, and they stuck some people on the bottom of it, and they tried to fly them a long ways, and then it went boom. What was that called?
That was called the, he has a long, complicated name.
Heisenberg.
Heisenberg.
No, Hindenburg. So
They flew it to America and it blew up.
there you go. Yeah, and as soon as it got here, and there's video of like people jumping out of that joker trying to get away from the flames.
That's propaganda.
What?
Never mind. I don't know who this is.
I think she does.
Shania, go ahead and tell us more. Did I get it right that time?
Shania.
Yeah.
Shania.
It's not Shania. That's Shania Twain.
Shaniqua.
Shania. That's
It's
it.
like me,
Shania.
Yeah, there's like 4 apostrophes.
Yeah, that's my
and,
spam name, and there are no apostrophes in my name. The school system just does them.
I can't believe
You
it.
have a random capital N in your name?
Yeah.
Wow.
You record.
Does that blow your mind?
Yeah.
Boom. All right, where were we? So, hydrogen blows up. I mean, you can hit a car and, you know, if the gas catches on fire, it can eventually blow up. But that typically is pretty rare. Usually gas leaks, and it had to be like a major hit for that to happen. Hydrogen, I don't even know if it would be that much, and it would go boom. So anyway, there was that danger element, but everything else aside, really the cost was prohibitive. And there was no infrastructure in place to fuel these things. I mean, like, it just seems like an idiotic idea. I mean, I get it, like you've got clean emissions, but these extra steps added in just didn't make a lot of sense to me and anybody else, and that's why you don't really see any hydrogen cars on the road. I think, now I'm going to give you my conspiracy theory version of this, since we're on the internet, that there is a likely scenario where somebody wanted to get rid of electric because it was bad for the oil industry, And they put this out here as a possible replacement for it, even though electric cars were starting to do well, and people were starting to like them. And this was all just a ruse, and so never really worked out. But anyway, I'll throw that out there. They use hydrogen as a fuel, combining it, and they only release water. Let's see, no other emissions. I guess the only other emission would be, what are you using for your electricity? Now, here's where we run into issues when we're talking about electric cars, besides the batteries, or hydrogen cars. One, you have to have infrastructure in place. Well, let's say you can hook it up to your house. Now, Emma, if you have solar panels all over your roof, then yeah, you can take the sun's energy, convert it into electricity. If you have some type of storage device to do that, like batteries, then you can then plug your Tesla up when you get home for the day and charge it up, and then use it the next day. And essentially, you've got a renewable energy source powering your vehicle. But if you're like most people, let's say you're in Alabama and your electricity primarily comes from natural gas and coal, then what are you using to make that electricity? Natural gas and coal, which I don't know is a lot better than what's produced by, I mean, I guess if it's all natural gas, it'd be a little bit better. But I don't know if that's a whole lot better than what you're using in terms of just burning gasoline. So these are things to consider, okay? Where does that energy come from? Now, here's another thing that we see happening in some locations, and some people call this hypocrisy. You can call it what you will, maybe the start of infrastructure. But in some locations where you see charging stations, or in the back in the day where you had hydrogen fueling stations, you would have like diesel generators out back, and they would be used to split the water in the case of the hydrogen fuel cells, or the diesel generators are being used in some like kind of isolated locations to make electricity. And if you're doing that, are you really gaining anything in terms of environmental benefit? Now, hopefully that would be short term, and it would hopefully be replaced with more renewable, more environmentally friendly energy sources, but we shall see. Okay, where we go? Number 50. Hydrogen fuel cells have low environmental impact and produce no hazardous emissions. However, it's expensive and energy is still needed to make the electricity. So, any questions there? Which one did you not get, bro?
49.
Water is still the product of hydrogen fuel cells? Of the reaction? You can look there on 366. It kind of goes through this whole process. Hydrogen comes in, oxygen mixes with it, water's given off. Let's go ahead and read here just so you have a kind of a brief overview of how it works. Read figure 1325 for us, JT. Go.
Is that 366? Okay.
Stephen, can you pay attention? I mean, Garrett. You can talk to Valerie later, and I won't even tell your girlfriend. Go. Well, you should have been paying attention. That sounds like a good excuse to talk to somebody, right? Hey, I didn't get that. Can we hang out? Can I get your notes? Don't ever fall for that, Valerie. Ever. I'm on the internet. I can't see anything else. Go, JT.
Hydrogen gas enters the cell from an external source. Protons from the hydrogen molecules pass through a membrane while the electrons flow around it, producing an electric current. Water is the only waste product of the reaction. In a fuel cell vehicle, hydrogen is the fuel that reacts with oxygen to provide electricity from the motor.
Dun-dun-dun. All right, so that's how it works. So this is on. Hey, we're gonna watch this, and we're gonna go back and talk about geothermal, since all you are total slackers and didn't do that. I'm gonna give you a brief overview, but first I want to show you this.
Escape today.
So let me give you a brief overview. There's a documentary called. Is this still running? Hey, you people got this on the Schoology page.